We got some major Montreal Canadiens lineup updates as the official lines for training camp and likely the regular season have been revealed. And while some lines are exactly what fans expected and wanted, there's a couple of points of contention, not only with who will make the roster, but also one defensive pairing that has fans pretty fired up and up in arms. We get to break down everything on that front, including some clips from today with Slav scoring the first goal officially of training camp, a goal that we're hoping to see a little more of this coming season. Hey, he's been working on that shot quite a lot. We also got Florian Xhekaj putting on an absolute clinic in physicality, but we also got some other stuff to talk about, including Mason McTavish as a new update has surfaced from Elliot Friedman about his current status with the Anaheim Ducks, and also a big Habs prospect update that's not at training camp. All that coming up on this episode of Habs Digest, jam-packed. Let's start with Bogdan. This is the guy, not currently here, but we saw him a bit at the development camp. He looks pretty mature. That's the one thing we know, but again, he's in the KHL for a few years. Bogdan Konyushkov picked up an assist so far today, and at that point of him getting that assist, he'd been on a roll with 4 points in the last 2 games in one period. He's at 4 points, again, in those kind of 2 and a bit games, or well, really 3 games, but 4 points in 6 games this season, Jesse. And looking at that point output last year, again, with Voinov coming in, taking over the captaincy that Konyushkov had in 23-24, it's pretty good to see him get off to a hot start this year, because last year was not so hot. And I know we have so many good prospects now, but even in a few years, if this guy can be a nice player on a rookie scale deal, I don't know. I'm just loving what I'm seeing. It feels like from every Habs prospect recently.
And rightfully so, because it seems like he's going to have a lot of experience once he gets over here, and he's going to be ready to really hit the ground running. You know, he might be able to just kind of, pass by Laval completely. Again, remains to be seen, but it's only right that we're showing him some love right now, Josh, with all of our other prospects in town. Of course, we'd love to have him here at training camp, but we know that he's got a deal for another couple of years here. But what we're seeing right now for Bogdan is that it's actually the offense has always been a part of his game. Yeah. If we look at his stats from even a couple of years back, it's been there, but then we've also seen from his development that they wanted him to kind of focus a little bit more on the defense. Yep. So obviously some of those point totals went back, but now we're seeing the offense coming back up. And this is really like a two-way guy where he really has both elements. He's got that offense, but he also plays that smart defensive game. I think a Cayden Guhle light, I think it's like a fair approximation here for Bogdan. And again, projecting into the future, first day of training camp, obviously he's not here yet, but you have to feel like he's just 22 right now, Josh. There's a world where Bogdan is coming over at 24, 25, but just hitting the ground running because he's getting so much ice time right now in the KHL, so many responsibilities. As much as we'd love to see him developing in Laval, we know he's getting his experience in playing hockey at a pretty good level right now in the KHL, but you have to feel 24, 25, he's a guy that I feel could slip into that bottom pairing type of spot with us and provide some real solid depth defense for this team.
Yeah, for sure. And hey, with Alexander Carrier looking to maybe play bottom pairing this year, a little spoiler, I guess, I think Konyushkov, his contract either ends right when Carrier's does, or at least around a similar time. And, if we're talking a third pairing guy, a guy that'll be on a cheap contract that kind of just fills that do-it-all kind of role, you never know. It could work out. But leave your thoughts on Bogdan down below. Always good to get these kind of Russian updates. Love what we're seeing from Bogdan. And before we do get to those lines, we got to get into a little bit of a McTavish update, because let's be honest, we're all fiends for any update on Mason McTavish. Even if the trade talks have sort of died down a little bit, you never know what's going to happen. Anaheim is losing leverage by the day. The thing is, he's still not with the team. He's on their training camp roster, but he's not actually there because he's unsigned. And the recent update from Friedman, with training camp on-ice sessions beginning today, Mason McTavish is skating with the Ottawa 67s of the OHL. The contract stalemate continues. It's believed the Ducks prefer not to do a bridge, but no common ground yet. And Mason McTavish, Jesse, look, we know how good he is. We know why he wants that long-term deal. AFP Analytics puts it good here. It's McTavish wants a short-term deal, I should say, because, we know the cap's going up. He can get a lot of money. The Ducks want longer-term because they'll save in the longer term if the cap keeps going up. So the question still arises, with Anaheim losing leverage, do you see any world where maybe the trade package to get a McTavish could go down by the day? Even if the price was too high a few weeks ago, you have to imagine if Anaheim refuses to budge on that, and maybe another team is willing to sign a shorter-term deal, you never know if that's Montreal, because I know we might, who knows? With Kent ready to overpay, I don't know. Maybe I'm reaching too much here, but I don't think I am. I think this is something we absolutely have to keep an eye on.
This is definitely going to intensify as the days goes on, and it absolutely is affecting negotiations where it really affects, where Kent, every day that goes on, that overpay that Kent Hughes talks about just becomes a little bit less as they're really kind of losing a lot of leverage here when it comes to these negotiations. And again, obviously, there is a precedent for this, which is just really interesting to note. Obviously, with Drysdale, with Zegras, as we've talked about before on the channel, even with guys like Troy Terry, not like even the young stars here, that was the one situation where they were able to get a long term, but otherwise they signed a 3-year deal and then traded shortly thereafter. So even if McTavish does sign, there's obviously another precedent for him being traded in the near future, which is very interesting. Obviously, we got some amazing prospects coming up. We'll see if Kent Hughes even really, if we need this player at that point in time. But this is very interesting just to consider in all of this, knowing like what Kent Hughes is willing to do. And you'd have to feel like Anaheim being a young up-and-coming team, the last thing they want to do is, kind of give one of their best players to an up-and-coming team in the Montreal Canadiens. But what helps in all of this situation, though, Josh, like to make that possible, is, they're only facing each other in the playoffs. They only play each other a couple times in the regular season. It's really in the Stanley Cup Finals. So that definitely helps in all of that situation here. But absolutely, to be honest, I'm a little bit happy to hear that. I'm okay with the Ducks drama right now because R2C situation hasn't been fully resolved yet. And just the longer this goes on, it just gives Kent a little bit longer of a runway to see if he can't figure out a way to potentially get something done here as he has some options on the table.
Yeah, for sure. It's really, really interesting because, McTavish doesn't want to budge and he wants more money, and the Ducks are like, I don't want to budge, I want to save money. That can be tough. Finances are, they're a tough subject for pretty much any aspect of life if you don't agree on finances. So we'll have to keep an eye out on this. So just wanted to keep you guys up to date because, this McTavish stuff will never really die until he's either traded or he's signed. So every little update is exciting. And I know you guys love it too. So leave your thoughts on that down below. But it's time to get into training camp today, Jesse. And why not roll some of the clips first? Actually, maybe why don't we just start with this Florian clip? We will get to the lines in a moment because we do have Slav scoring and stuff. I wanted to just highlight how good Florian looked today. Now, he wasn't really in that, top 12 in the official kind of 4 lines that the Montreal Canadiens were running today, though there is a certain position there that Mr. Owen Beck was occupying that could be up for the taking. We'll have to wait and see. But Jesse, Florian's physicality in this clip here versus Cayden Guhle is especially impressive to me. I mean, look, I know one clip from training camp doesn't tell all, but this guy, he just looks like he wants to be there so bad. And that's something we've heard so much. He has that it factor. And I've just loved everything I've seen from him from the rookie camp. Even now, using his body to shield off Cayden Guhle, that dude's a really good defender. I don't know. I know it's just one clip. It's hard to extrapolate from that. But all that to say, I've just loved everything I've seen from Florian. And I really hope we can see a lot more in the coming days here.
Yeah, he knows exactly what he needs to do, imposing himself physically. Again, I think adding that size is a welcome addition on this team. So there is absolutely a world where Florian Xhekaj just completely steals a roster spot from Owen Beck. I believe that he's maybe the smart money to say that he's going to grab that spot on that third line there just for everything that he's doing, the shot, that physicality, obviously just being big, imposing on the ice. And I think what that really does for the Montreal Canadiens, up and down their lineup, that size, you really don't want to underestimate how that helps your team just in so many ways going forward, Josh. In fact, I'm loving what we potentially see from a third line in Newhook, in Bolduc, and Florian. Those are all 3 guys bringing some sandpaper. Obviously Bolduc and Xhekaj playing a physical game, but then that skill to complement each other. And again, we're not trying to rule out Beck. It's day one at training camp. There's a lot to come, but with Florian Xhekaj, there's been a lot of momentum that's been building up. There's a reason why the hype is building. It's his body of work and what he's done and getting the buzz and kind of scoring in those prospects games. All these things kind of lead up to him, again, just improving his chances. And again, it started with him. He believed that he could make the Montreal Canadiens. In fact, we see him even last year. He's in the airport. He's wearing Montreal Canadiens gear already. In his mind, he's already a Hab. And in fact, as time goes on, it's showing he was completely right for really believing that.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, it's him and Arber both. They both believed it, and now they're living it. And it's got to be an incredible feeling and something you never want to let go. And I think they're both aware of that. And a lot of people were saying today, Arber is one of the guys who stood out a lot too. Now, we can't go into every single player that did well today, but we're going to try and highlight some. Shout out to Florian Xhekaj. But, we alluded to the lines. And let's just take a little look here. Again, not not a ton to really dissect here. Line Dach, Demidov, exactly what we expected. It seems to be what they're trying, at least now. Line had a funny comment, like, hey, what do we think about the chance of you playing with Demidov? He's like, well, let's be honest, Demidov's playing with me. I'm the 10-year vet. So I thought that was funny. Line is hilarious, bro. Top line stays intact. You're right. Bolduc, Newhook, Beck. Beck was there. Some people have said they weren't impressed with him today, but it's day one. I find it's hard to really know for sure. I will say, people were saying Joe Veleno had a good day there today. He looked really skilled, and if Beck doesn't make it, Veleno is one of these guys we must consider. Like, maybe he comes in and plays center with Newhook on the wing, something like that. But the forward lines, I think, overall is kind of what we expected. That winger who will play with Bolduc and Newhook, we didn't really know, and so that's kind of maybe the position up for grabs, but we'll have to wait and see. And before we get to the defense, which maybe is a big point of contention, wanted to shout out Slav here today, Jesse. Just wanted to run this real quick before we touch on the defense. The garbage goal is exactly what I want to see from him. He scored the first goal of the day, one of only two. I think Mark Estepa scored the other one. It was a 2-0 win for his team. And we know Slav's been working on his shot. Like, I don't know, maybe I'm crazy. I don't think I am. Slav's garbage goals, I feel like he didn't get as many as I would have expected last year. And I think this kind of goal is the exact thing that can catapult him from a 20 to a near 30 goal score if he just adds that element to his game. He's got a few of them in his career, and I'm really excited to see it. And, you know, Slav's a guy that we're all so high on. Glad he's sticking on that first line, and I think this could be a really nice element for him. I'm just really happy to see him succeeding whenever we get a chance to see him.
And we just have to say that this training camp roster is just so much better than what we've seen from this team in just so many years. This keeps getting better, and there's a reason to be excited. Like, I'm liking a lot of the choices up and down the roster composition, different choices. For a large part, I think that Marty is making some strong decisions, and it's going to be important to, like, actually get some lines and some identity early and stick around to it instead of making the mistake of last year. I think that was a part of us starting off a little bit slow, is the health. But to be fair, I think a little bit of that was on the management of terms of like playing. The lines were basically in a blender to start the season. I think getting an early identity, getting a strong start from the beginning is what it's all about. In fact, Josh, that's why the team's like been trading so hard this off season, right? It's to be able to start on time. So seeing Slav, who we know the moniker is second-hand Slav, like him starting on time, scoring the first goal of training camp is an amazing first sign for this team. Again, just like going to the net with your stick on the ice, good things are just really going to happen as a result, especially if you're a big boy like Slav. Like, that's what the other team doesn't want Slav doing, imposing himself in that type of way, rattling some cages, making some things happen there. So again, just going to the front of the net, I think is just so huge for him. And like, if Slav is able to get off to a strong start, knowing what he's normally able to do later on the season, and still being able to make the playoffs, that's what really helps us, not just like getting like sneaking in the playoffs, but getting like that first wild card spot, or dare I say being, you know, third in the division. Like, Slav is really the key of where we fall and all that in the first line. He's definitely going to be able to affect this team in huge ways. So Josh, like, I'm getting pumped. Like, I'm getting excited, as you can tell, just knowing like this team, what they can do, how they're starting off. They put such an effort in this off season, and just to see everybody like hitting the ground running and like a lot of the rust is off right to begin with is just an amazing size, like, you know, sign for this team. Like, this, they didn't need to do what they did to be prepared, but it's really us as Montreal Canadiens fans and media that are really going to be rewarded for that because of what they've done this offseason.
Oh, and it's so exciting. I mean, like, that just gets me even more happy. You're absolutely right. Like, this effort is going to pay off. We're already seeing it pay off. There's chemistry. Like, also Caufield's toe drag here is kind of nuts too. Like, they just know where each other's going to be. It's really just such a well executed line there. What a nice little play by Suzuki as well.
Nice pass.
Yeah, it's unreal. But yeah, the forwards are looking great. I love the depth. You're absolutely right. But the defense, I like it. I want to just quickly hit on this because I've seen a lot of fans not love what we're seeing here. Hutson Guhle is fine. I mean, you know, that's the one thing I think, Jesse, we know Lane Hutson can play with almost anyone. The problem is, I think a lot of people see Mike Matheson not on the third pairing, and then there's kind of like this, oh boy, like, well, who do we play him with? Matheson Guhle, or do we do Dobson Guhle? Matheson Carrier? That wasn't a great pairing analytically last year. Hutson Guhle, I think, is fine in a vacuum. I think a lot of people, maybe myself included, understand that Guhle Dobson is a great fit as well, and maybe that's what we were expecting. Do you have any thoughts on Matheson Dobson? I'll give mine just briefly because, you know, again, I don't want to go into this. Could be a 10-minute rant here. I think it's two guys who are not known for their defense, but have defensive abilities. Again, Matheson was a do-it-all guy who ate the most minutes of any player on the Habs last year. I don't think he's going to go down to like 15 minutes a game or anything. but him and Dobson both have a tendency to make mistakes in front of their own net on defense, which is maybe not good to have together. I will say maybe it's a bit overblown. I don't know who I would have. Like, I'd rather Guhle Dobson, but if that's the case, I don't know. I don't know if I want Hutson Matheson either. So at the end of the day, I think this is kind of all right. Matheson, Dobson, minute eaters, and they both have decent size and great skating, so they can make up for each other's miscues, I think. Do you have any thoughts on this, before we end off this video? Because I know this has been a big point of contention today, but I think this is also very much subject to change.
Yeah, I think I have to start off by saying that it's like Lane Hutson is a first pairing defenseman.
Oh, yeah.
We know he's a little bit smaller, but just like getting that respect even internally. We've seen the disrespect kind of outside the team. Not the case here in Montreal. Like, even just for the optics, and we know like with Dobson and Hutson, we expected them to be split in the pairings there. And it's for sure, it's kind of like a 1A, kind of 1B type of rollout in terms of like first pairing, second pairing. Mm-hmm. But just for the optics, Lane Hutson needs to be on that first pairing. Yes. He is that type of guy in the NHL. This just shows how they're putting that respect on him early on the season, which I think you're just going to get rewarded for that many times over, the more respect you give to Lane Hutson there. So I like that for a first pairing. Of course, I would have, I have projected a Matheson maybe being on that third pairing just because of obviously two very offensive guys, but you have to feel like it's not lost on Martin St. Louis, like Dobson and Matheson together. Like Matheson has clearly already gotten the mandate, in my opinion, from Martin St. Louis that just to play the defensive side of the game, to allow Dobson to really do what he does best. And if he really sticks into that, and plays that defensive game, maybe passes the puck to Slav as he should.
Doesn't shoot into the shins.
Problems. I'm going to be totally okay. Like if Matheson's playing a defensive game, and I think he's got his marching orders. Yeah. I think he's going to do that. And it's going to be interesting to see, if he's able to do that because of his skating ability, his experience. I think, that would be really great for this team. Is it normal to maybe have a little bit of apprehension there? We're trying to keep more pucks out of the net, and we're going to have two really offensive guys playing against some pretty good, obviously lines up against them as that second pairing. But I think if Matheson really leans into his role, we just got so much depth in the defense. For sure, it's going to be a little bit of a work in progress. I'm a big believer in Carey and that stabilizing effect. So ideally, I maybe had Hutson with Carey in there. Yeah. I do get where they are coming from with Matheson, though, that the ceiling is a little bit higher. They want to take advantage. I think as long as he's able to really own that defensive role, we got the makings of a really good decor, but it's really under that assumption specifically.
Yeah, and I like that a lot too, because we haven't really seen a Matheson who is almost doesn't have to have that offensive load, and I think it looks different, right? Like if he doesn't have to shoot the puck as much as he loves to do from the point, if he doesn't have to skate up the ice a bunch and have a turnover, you can let Dobson do that even more. It's not to say Matheson won't do it, it's just that he might do it less. And I think that even if he still plays 21, 22 minutes a night, his role will look different. It's not so much that he will play less, so you'll see fewer mistakes. It's like he might not be in the position to make those mistakes he once did. But anyway, again, this is a big conversation we can have. We want to hear your guys' thoughts. What do you think of the D pairings? I know people are fired up. The forward line, so many great things to be excited about. This is a long one. Thank you for tuning into this episode of Habs Digest. Season's right around the corner. Training camp is going so well so far. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Thank you for tuning in every single day. Oh boy, cannot wait to see what's in store. I'm Josh Gosse, my co-host Jesse Poirier. We'll catch you in the next one.